Alright guys, I wanted to show you in the sample asset with the tank in it, there's certain things you do need to add to your terrain so that the tank won't like sink through it. So here's the terrain. We've talked about how to create the terrain, but when I click on terrain on the show one, there is a material and it's called terrain. Okay, so in order to create that, because when you create new material, that isn't automatically on there. That'll like, here, like if I remove that and I hit the delete key, it'll say none physics material. So to create a new one, scroll down under your project folder, physics material, and then I would call it terrain. I already have a terrain, so I'll just call it terrain 2. All right, so when I click terrain, I would grab this, and then I would drag it over to physics material, and then it says terrain. Okay, another thing is these cubes in the show sample. Okay, all right, remember, just like when we were doing our Pong game, and those of you who didn't do a Pong game, here, we would create a 3D object. You could add a cube, a sphere, whatever, okay, for the obstacle course. So with the cube selected, and I've created that and it's been added in the hierarchy, you need to add certain components. Okay, so one of those is going to be a box collider because you don't want the tank to pass through the cube, okay? Otherwise it just pass right through. So you add the box collider. So add component, type in box collider, but this time because it's 3D, you pick the 3D option. Add component, rigid body, because you want it to have physics, okay? So the rigid body gives it mass and has gravity. So that means that when the tank shoots and fires at it and it hits it, it will actually cause it to have a react, just like gravity would affect it. Another thing that I forgot, this was something that we actually had it listed in my Unity vocabulary words. It's called Interpolate. Okay, Interpolate is like basically like when you talk about Adobe Animate, and we talked about keyframes and then how it in between from keyframe to the other keyframe when you did certain type of tweening, classic tween, motion tween, or whatever. Okay, so interpolating is the same concept, except for you're doing it with the 3D image in a video game. So if you have it on and you say interpolate, basically it's supposed to kind of smooth it out. That's what I read online. Like it kind of makes the motion just a little bit more smoother, getting those in between a major point of action to the next one. And I think everything else is good for the setup. So then when you go to play the game, you can move around. Like I can use my keys, have my crosshair pointed at something, and I have to click. Come on. It's not clicking. That crosshair is acting all goofy. Alright, hit pause. So that didn't quite work as I wanted it to. It's my mouse. It's acting a little goofy. I'll try it one more time. You should just have the crosshairs pointed. Like if it's pointed at the sky and then you click to fire, it's not going to do anything. So you really got to aim it at the ground. If you do it, if I back up, let me back up. And then I drag my mouse. See, now it's working. It's a little touchy. I have the magic mouse and it's a little goofy. And then there's like a little bit of a delay. You can change the firing setting on and play around with it on the tank, because I think there's like a force for how much, because really it's not doing as much. So if I hit Command P, we gotta get out of the play mode. And if you check the tank, these are all of the components that are relating to the tank here. There's a weapon range. You can play around with increasing that and see if that has more. But really, probably the biggest thing, I know it seems weird, but I would check actually the cube itself. So like whatever cube it is, change some of these actual settings and you'd probably be surprised. Like it'll cause it to have more of a bounce. You can, you know, add or change like the mass and things like that, or get rid of the angular drag. Okay, because drag slows things down. Okay, so you can change some of these settings to see if it, when you fire at it, will it actually cause the cube to kick up more. Okay, so because I know a lot of times you want to be like, well, wouldn't it have it to do with the cannon on the tank? But the tutorials I've seen, it often relates more to the object that it's actually firing at. Okay, so that's just a quick rundown on adding physics material and some of the settings that you want for your train.